Welcome. I'm so glad that you can join me here today. 313 on what is shame and guilt. And I'm so happy to be sharing this special place with you. And today's lesson 273, pages 749 and 750. Won't you join me here today? And my name is Reverend Maria Arvanitidis, and this is an audiovisual version of my book, named after my ministry, TheSovereignLight. And this is a course in metaphysical spirituality. And this point for today, this episode, is on continuing from previously on what is shame and guilt. So I'm going to start on the first paragraph to read, and if you care to purchase the book, you can online, as mentioned before. And here we go, point number 9, and let's see what we can get today. Today's question, and throughout the day and until we decide to move on to another topic, is what is shame and guilt. I want you to just kind of, these are such beautiful creatures, and I want to share them with you. They're like beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And as we continue on, see how friendly we can get. And I will read. There has got to be a better way. And just maybe there is within the self-care a contribution of the self-sustaining self. The shame in that there is not enough trust, and within the many, to rely directly on the goods and services of another. So instead, it must create a disciplinary system, and much like a father head, to oversee and control over everything. The system, through the ages, it has benefited, and over the many of the world, to punish for its earnings made, and automatically make guilty in the owing of this currency. So where is it that we lack faith? Where is it that we lack faith? And that we start to mistrust, doubt, be hesitant in our ways, in others? Where is it where we've lost and wavered on our faith? That we do not trust in even these animals, these beautiful creatures. And they're sacred in their own right and holy. And so, with that said today, let's take a few deep breaths in and out, and in, and feel the grounding from the soles of our feet to the earth, and connect it to the etheric ethereal of the spirit of the mana from the sun, the sustenance that these beautiful creatures offer to us. And I praise and give thanks to them. I'm most grateful in their loving presence here today that they've decided to join us very attentively. Oh, I love them. And let's continue, shall we? Whenever you're ready. And say these words out loud. And if you must, pause and say them and then come back to them. Or I can make another sample for TikTok. You can also sample this before I add it in my package on YouTube. And you get to Patreon. Come join me on Patreon. Capital R, small m, capital A. That's my creator's name. And whenever you're ready, the deeper you can breathe and trust in the surrender and not fear of that which is all around us, these beautiful, beautiful creatures. And so I want to work and earn a living by helping others in the way that has not on a hook to snare upon with conditions that which I must claim as slave owing to for my existence. And take another deep breath in. And release it out. I want to work and earn a living by helping others in the way that has not on a hook to snare upon with conditions that which I must claim as slave owing to for my existence. And just kind of breathe that in. Where are we going with this? And each and every time, take another deep breath in. And release it out. And do the same from down below. Circular motion and release it out. So yes, it becomes a figure 8 kind of thing. And as we blow the two Taurus and this beautiful, beautiful white light that we release out into many beautiful colors that create our reality from all our senses, this torque that comes right out from breathing in and out, and that we share with our field, our auric field. And as one more time, let's continue. I want to work and earn a living by helping others in the way that has not on a hook to snare upon with conditions that which I must claim as slave owing to for my existence. So where do you feel like you've been snared? And how have you learned from it? Are you too practicing in that same way of fishing? Where let's say you are your own boss and you have your own business of service or products that you go and you help others in need. And you say, well, for instance, I can offer you this service of, let's say, fumigating for a certain pesticide or pest control. And then you say, well, and you get quotes, right? And then you say, well, I can do this for 200. And then you snare a person. And you say, well, you know, I have to do it again and on a continuous basis. And the reason why I gave you such a good price is because I know that you'll keep coming back to me. So again, that is another fishing technique of becoming snared into the process of giving goods, as well as when you work for others, in a sense that you're not your own boss, how we become snared into that company or that corporation or the government or the system, and how we in turn do the same and promote it and support that system by going out, and as entrepreneurs we practice in the same way. So where is it that we can stop this cycle, stop this chain? Is it in the way that we see it? Is it in the way that maybe I might be changing in my perspective not to see it this way and just let it be and go with the flow? Or is it something that doesn't really suit or fit me? And even so, if it did, for me to do that, how much resistance is there between me and that system? And if there's none, how much resistance is it from that system, let's say, that says you just don't fit in, you're just not one of us, and they walk away, or you walk away. So it can be a boomerang effect. It can be the reflection, rather than you saying, I'm sorry, I no longer wish for your services, and stop it right there. Or they might just not feel comfortable in this way to proceed in the way that they are normally, proceeding with others, in the way they perform their business, in the way that they work their business. And when, say, they're doing it for you, they might not feel comfortable because they know that you're seeing it in a different way, that they're exploiting you or you're exploiting them. So this is where the uncomforting discomfort, and this is how we go about discernment. Does it feel right? And you don't have to explain it or know how awkward it might feel, but we don't have to have any proof. We just don't feel right, and in turn they don't feel right in the hiring of us, or in us participating in their way of functioning. And so let's continue on. And where do you see that throughout the day, or have you experienced it in your lives? And it's often to do with our own well-being, our own protection, that we are not able to re-engage or continue to engage in those ways with others. And so as I continue reading this day 313 of 749, page 749, lesson 273. The criminality it thrived on could once in a while be flippant to its system, that has many a time become outsmarted. As such, it continued to cut back and further punish longer for the many temporary, transient few, that hath they come out and measured out unscathed in doing so. The shame the self must feel, and when it cannot give to charity, as have the many who will take from it, and with its money they look on as charitable, Yeah, you see, it's called laundering. A lot of these non-for-profit and even these companies that make a lot of money, and corporate or non-corporate, whatever they might be, agencies, they have to give back. And this way, they get rewarded because it's another way of laundering money. But it's laundering money in a legal way, in an accepting way. And so, how is it that we don't see it? It's like, I thought of it here even. This is a different system altogether in Belize. And I thought of it and I thought, oh, these dollar store slippers I buy for $1, they're worth 20 here. So if I was to bring with me here 100 of those slippers and sell them for $20, I would have how much? Profit. But then I would have to be held accountable for that kind of exploiting. So I would in turn have to give and pay to the system in a way of duty fees, in a way of taxes, in a way of giving to charitable things. And this is how we launder money. And it's done in all places. And it's like, why are we seeing these things? Are we seeing it to be turned off by the system, or are we seeing it to learn how to exploit the system in the same way? And I will leave it up to you to discern and see where you're at and how comfortable you feel in possibly engaging in that way, and looking at the bigger picture, where it might, on what path it leads. And are you comfortable being on that path? Or, was it a detour of some sort that took you off it? And so, with that said, let's continue on to page 750. And take a nice deep breath in. And as we take a nice deep breath in, contemplate today on these words. I want to work and learn a living by helping others in the way that has not on a hook to snare upon with conditions that which I must claim as slave owing to for my existence. So what are you following? What are you worshiping in the workship of it all? Whose dream are you promoting? Whose dream are you working to help make real? And how much is it resonating with you? And is it anything to do with coexisting in it or co-creatively engaging with it? And where do you stand in that resonating field? And with that, is it an ionic bonding? Or is it a covalent one? And with any time, it could go either way. So it's where we focus our attention is what we make real. And so the guilt in feeling as the poor and hungry mite to better in the well of state. That lingers to repay with unpredictable and a well of status earnings that position it with benefits for its return. The investment was always with a catch, and from its authoritative indoctrinations to obey or else asking for your obedience and trust to follow and just do as you're told. The life is an order from the hierarchy, and it has agreed to work for in its worship, so not to feel the blame of guilt and shame when otherwise it could have not been considerable to work. From its dysfunction, and that cripples it so it must reach out to grasp enough, and from a self-promoting currency. How in this way can the self be able to connect with the right parts of the many in the commerce and to agree a way for a sovereign and thriving existence? Answer me this. And so that's the question for the day. The programs are these ingrained and from within the cellular memory, as far back to many generations, and it had carried to distort the field that binds it in this way to system. And with each generation, it just gets loosened, and the noose just comes right off. And we become liberated, ascended, and perhaps we have forgiven all that has been holding us back from previous. Perhaps it was us that was holding us back. So the purpose for today is to understand that shame is not that of the self, and in the opinion of it, to prefer other than from previous lineages that have found and that have worked within this system. So I believe very much in that in today's world, the Bible has been remade, and in the Abrahamic sense of it all. And still there's so much to learn from this ascended master, from one ascended master to another, and how they dealt with things and their disciples, and how many of their followers they have engaged, and down through history, these lineages that have written everything down per se, and whatever versions watered down that we have today, it's still very, very beautiful to hear their advice. But again, it's just, again, it's obedient to a toxic, patriarchal, off-balanced system. And the weakening of one gender over the other does not make the other stronger. It weakens it too. So here we are in hopefully resolving all these issues, but how much of one gender can we take and make a god before we say, okay, enough. Let's bring back goddess already. Where did she go? Right? So be that system buster. And of this, it's died out ways that Christ himself had done back way in those days. Because expressing in the doing is just as important. So develop not the need to service from a guilt format. There is another choice, and that is not to contribute to the whole in this way. Of these old beliefs where we have God outside of ourselves and we say, well, this is how the Egyptians did it. This is only God heals. But then the Son of God came, and everything through that authority are we able to heal. But then again, Christ wanted us to be the same in the way that we too are able to heal ourselves and others who might not be on that same level. Because if we're a little bit further, then we're still held back from the others who need to catch up, because we're all in this together, in this law of oneness. This law of oneness that when we can accept ourselves and be responsible for our circumstances and know that we are creator beings, creator of our circumstances. And whatever the law of creation and attraction and all those other laws in place that nature hath given us, we know and can engage with and create whatever it is that we desire using those laws and accepting them into the oneness that we all are. As one. And then we become individuated pieces of that one. And we are sovereign beings in the here and now moment. And with that said, I'll leave you with these beautiful, beautiful guests of mine for today. And I'm actually a guest of theirs in the same way, coexistingly. And I'm so honored to have them as I have you here present with me, sharing within this holographic field. And that is where we feel the guilt. So these two, shame and guilt and shame, where do you feel them in your energy field? Where do you feel those blockages? And see it in your world. See that yellow, see that orange, see that beautiful, beautiful realities of existence. And the sound, if you want to just blast out with your thoughts and how you feel. Why do I feel the guilt of having to fix something that is wrong with me and hide with shame this aspect from a world that cannot adjust for any other way? That's a question. And see what you come up with for next lesson 274, day 314. And once again, today, I will leave you with today and in this affirmation. I want to work and earn a living by helping others in the way that has not on a hook to snare upon with conditions that which I must claim as slave owing to for my existence. I want to work and earn a living by helping others in the way that has not on a hook to snare upon with conditions that which I must claim as slave owing to for my existence. I want to work and earn a living by helping others in the way that has not on a hook to snare upon with conditions that which I must claim as slave owing to for my existence.